Hi, science students and friends of rocks. Today we are going to talk about one of the three types of rocks. We've got sedimentary, metamorphic, and today is all about igneous. So igneous means fire rock. So the Latin igneous, so it's like the word ignite, think of fire. And that's going to help you remember how these rocks were formed. So this looks like fire rocks inside of a fire. Not so. It's more like this, coming from magma or lava, which means this involves a volcano and a magma chamber. So let's take a look at the two different types of igneous rocks. We're going to break it down by location, location, location. Intrusive, right here. This is from a magma chamber. So this is deep within the earth. As this magma chamber, sometimes it doesn't erupt into a volcano, sometimes it just hangs out here, and then eventually it's going to cool. It may take it thousands of years. And if you are an intrusive igneous, that means you're actually cooling very, very slowly and creating large crystals. If you are extrusive, you're lava coming out, cooling on the surface of the earth, and you're going to create very, very tiny crystals and sometimes no crystals at all. So let's take a look at some extrusive igneous. Obsidian, like so. This is very, very sharp at the edge. Obsidian is almost glassy by nature. It cooled very quickly, and if you break off a piece, you can get a super, super sharp edge. Sometimes that was used for a knife, sometimes used for a scalpel. Surgeons really liked that. Another type of extrusive is pumice. Pumice, light material. Some of you have ever been to a nail salon. They use it to scrub your feet. You may have one in your bathroom. They are incredibly light and less dense, definitely, than basalt or obsidian, and they'll even float. I'm going to attach a video of a sort of a floating island of pumice that's heading to Australia and New Zealand. Hopefully, it should be there pretty soon. Acres and acres of this pumice. So it's a floating stone raft created by an underwater volcano in Taiwan. Another extrusive igneous, another really common one, is basalt. And Minecraft users, that's our basalt. It really kind of looks like this. So you can kind of see, you can get all different kinds, and there's even more than this, but these are just three really pretty common ones. So I want to show you some basalt here in Washington State. If you take a look at this map, this is the basalt group. This is where there's a huge, huge deposit of basalt, and this is one of my favorite examples. This is columnar basalt. It's cooled in a way that it's in the shape of hexagons. Anyone who is a rock climber, I used to be years and years ago, and our PE teacher, Ms. Perone, we have all climbed these rocks. It's pretty cool. All right, so why so many different types of extrusive igneous rocks? The material from a volcano can be different. Every volcano is slightly different. The cooling rates are different. The temperatures are different. Three different types of lava coming out. Aha, that's slow moving and thick. Oh, somebody's here. There's Pa-ho-ho, and that's fast moving lava. And then there's pillow lava. So let's take a look at these. There's that aha lava. It's very, very slow moving. You can see it's kind of this nice big rocky edge there. And then you've got this thick, ropey Pa-ho-ho. And then the pillow lava, this one's already been cooled, but yeah, it's really intense, coming from an underwater volcano. So let's take a look at the other one. This is the intrusive. This was formed deep within inside the earth. And it cooled slowly, so you're going to get some really big crystals. Probably the most famous of all our intrusive is granite. Dunite, I only put this in here. It is an intrusive igneous. It is my least favorite rock. I just find it incredibly non-interesting, but it helps me remember it. And diorite I put in there because it sounds like dynamite or Dorito, but it's also a great example of these big crystals that have formed. So most of you guys know granite because of granite countertops. And so granite comes in a whole bunch of different colors, and it comes in these big slabs, and you make them into your countertops. And oh, we're going to have a little pun. Why did the geologist's wife leave him? Because he took her for granted. I'm sorry to say, geologists love puns. Okay. This is how they mine granite. New Hampshire is the granite state, so obviously there's huge formations of granite there. And then you can see this is a quarry, and this is what we call how we mine stuff, is a quarry in Vermont. And so they break off these huge slabs and cart them away. And they basically make a huge hole which water collects in. And as a kid, I did a lot of swimming in quarries. I actually got my scuba diving license in a quarry. So it's going to seem a little bit weird. It's like, wait a minute, this was a magma chamber that cooled. Why is it so close to the surface? So we will get into that a little bit later when we talk about erosion and weathering. But I want to kind of show you some examples of how these massive granite structures are formed. So here you have your magma chamber, you're making a volcano. This one over here, this is a massive magma chamber that has cooled, and we call it a batholith. And you can see this perhaps was a place where magma came out, and you've got a nice lava flow here. There's your batholith. Totally solid. And eventually, all this material here, for multiple reasons, which we will get into much later, they've eroded away, or this whole section has lifted up. And you can get things like, well, this is just another example here. This would be the batholith there. And here's El Capitan in Yosemite. This is an amazing, huge, massive chunk of granite. It's very hard to understand. Well, wait a minute, this was underground? And true story. It was, and now it's up above. So hold on to that thought until we get to weathering and erosion. These pieces of granite are really well loved by folks who want to climb rocks, because when they're incredibly stable, they have breaks in them, but they don't fall off. This is the guy from Free Solo who climbed up El Capitan without ropes. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's pretty good. I'm going to end today with a couple more puns. I don't always make up geology jokes, but when I do, they rock. And I love puns. And the last one is from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. If you think geology is hard, of course it's hard. It's a study of rocks, for crying out loud. Rocks are not made out of marshmallows. Okay, well, thank you for watching. I hope that helped. And I will see you guys next week.